Hello, everybody, and welcome to Asea 5. This is a wonderful evening this evening, and we welcome you from across the globe. As you come in, let us know where you're coming from. We have our regulars, minus Dr. Maureen Hayes, who is with her family. Her oldest son is getting married today, and so we joyfully excuse her. She'll be back with us next week from a unique location in Dallas. And we'll talk more about that later. We have Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio, so wave to us. And Jim is our recovering stockbroker who's helping us to understand the financial realities of life. Ann is our great fitness and nutrition guru and who has great input in all regards in that way. My name is Dr. Lee Osler. I am in the state of Washington, and we'll be with Jim and Ann tonight co-hosting, and we welcome Dr. David Silverman, who's been a regular on our Asea 5 webcast in the past, and we have him back again. He is a podiatrist by professional training and an Asea associate extraordinaire who has flown to the top, and we welcome him because he's going to help us dig ourselves out of the pits that we find ourselves in and become educated as to how and why this is an important thing in our life. Dr. David, welcome.
Thanks, Lee, but I think you did a good job of explaining why it's an important thing in our life. I recognize that guy's name right there. It's a great book.
Absolutely. And I do want to say that Dr. David has been gracious to continually come on, and he has been absolutely one of our fan favorites.
Oh, for sure.
So, David, we always cherish and welcome and thank you for your time.
Yep.
It's an absolute joy to be with you guys. Thank you. And girls.
Thank you.
That's it. Let's start
We need to
off.
get Wendy on here sometime.
Yeah.
He's doing the dishes.
That's an important function too. Let's start off with, we do have a lot of people from around the country and the world actually, who maybe are on this call for the first time or who are new looking at this. And perhaps you could begin with kind of where you started. What attracted your attention? Why did this become an important thing for you? And maybe we can kind of just segue into this that way.
Sure. And I just start by saying that you just mentioned there are new people possibly on here, and it's those people that make me nervous. And the reason is when I do these presentations and I do interviews, I'm either talking to people that have already seen the product work and they want to understand how it works, or they're interested in the opportunity, or they don't know that it works yet. And so I know that when I first learned about this, I had conversations with people, and I got to the point where I said, hey, I got to try this for my dad. He had a very grave issue, type of issue no one wants to hear they have in any part of their body, whether it's their prostate or their lung or their breast or something. So, but those conversations got me to the point where I said, hey, it's as safe as water. It can't hurt. I'm going to try this. And so for the new people, if you're new and you haven't used the product yet, I speak more to you than anybody, because someone's life might depend on you coming to know that this is real now versus when it becomes mainstream in the next like 2 to 7 years, when everybody says, oh, Asea, I know what that is. But my background is podiatry and foot surgery. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, went to University of Maryland for undergrad biology, and then Chicago for podiatric medical. I'm 61 years old now. I own my own practice in Maryland outside of Washington. I was board certified in foot surgery and foot orthopedics and primary podiatric medicine. I went as far as a podiatrist could go. And I own my own practice and my own surgery center because I'm psychologically unemployable. I don't like, I resent, I distaste, I get nauseated with the thought of somebody telling me what to do. I don't like that. I don't like somebody telling me when to work, when I can go on vacation, when I can go to the bathroom, how much money I can make. So I've always been, entrepreneurial, I guess. And I love my practice, but after about 5 years, I felt a little bit limited and a little bit trapped. I don't know if anybody's seen the movie Groundhog Day. I loved what I did. I loved being with my patients. But remember in that movie, every morning the alarm clock would go off and Sonny and Cher was playing, and he'd hit the alarm clock and it was the same thing. And I, I, I went into medicine because I loved helping people. But I just felt like, is this all there is? Like getting up and going to the hospital and going to my office and going home, getting up and going to my surgery center, the office and going home. And so after about 5 years, I was thinking maybe I was meant to do more. And I wanted more time freedom as well. So that was my previous life. Real briefly, I discovered network marketing in 1997, had a very bad experience. I liked the idea of residual income, quit that. Then I got involved with another company that had a health product, loved it, went to the top, sold my practice too early. And after I sold my practice, I realized that the company was doing some very bad things and I couldn't trust them anymore. And I kind of quit doing that. Asea fell into my lap in December of 2010. My friend Debbie brought it to me. And I wouldn't have looked at it if it wasn't for the fact my dad was sick. I was done with multi-level marketing. But I knew multi-level marketing had really good products, that people did sound too good to be true often. So I looked at it from my dad initially. That was it. No to the business. Investigated it carefully. Got my dad on the product, saw remarkable things on other people. I referred people to my friend Debbie, and they kept coming back saying, David, this stuff is amazing. And then about 8.5 months later, I decided to take a look at the opportunity and flew out to the company and the FDA registered production facility. I wanted to see the people, meet the people face to face, and I did. And that's when I got involved with the opportunity. Did it part-time for 3 years, went full-time. And now I sit on the medical board with you, Lee, which is a volunteer position. And the entrepreneur side is Ambassador Triple Diamond is just create a ripple effect. Share this gift with people with not focusing on making money, focusing on making people aware of it. Like I was made aware of it from my father, knowing that, yeah, it works for things that hurt. It works for sleeping problems. It works for all kinds of things. But there are people out there that have no hope anymore with their problems, and they need to know about it. So I just tell everybody that'll listen. If they don't listen, I realize one day they'll be on it, but hopefully it won't be too late for them.
You know, I should have asked Debbie to come on tonight. What were those magic words, David, that she said that caught your attention? I mean, it had to be something pretty medical and pretty wow to get you to take a look at this. What was it?
It wasn't medical at all. She called me. We sat down at a cafe called La Madeleine outside. And she looked across the table kind of nervously, and she looked in my eyes and she says, David, I love you. And I honestly didn't know if she was saying she wanted me to leave my wife. I didn't know what she was saying, but she started with that, the truth. And I said, I love you too. And then I thought maybe she's going to tell me something bad. And she goes, I've come across something that's a breakthrough. It's so important. And it's so big. It's so big, and it's such a breakthrough. It may sound too good to be true. And I pray that because of a relationship, you investigate this. And that's how it started for me. She didn't know my dad was sick. I listened to it, and I said, and a lot of people say when I talk to them, well, could it help this? Could it help that? Well, now we have sites where people can go and kind of see experiences and so forth. We didn't have that then. So I just talked to a few people, talked to some doctors, and really looked at the safety part of it. And once I saw that it's as safe as water. I mean, you can't be allergic to it. It's impossible. There's no toxicity to it. You can't drink too much of it. It can't hurt you. And it doesn't interfere with anything else somebody might be doing. I took up to my dad, and my dad said, you clear with my doctor up at the very famous hospital in Baltimore, Johns blank. You clear it with the doctor, and I'm happy to get on it. And that's what I did. But she started out with, honestly, I love you. And I've said that to people. But there, most people you can't say that to. It's not real because they know you don't love them. I mean, there are a certain number of people that you said, I love you. They know you mean it. You can always say, I care about you, right? But that's how it started for me.
How do you do it, David? When you're sharing this, what is, if you could share some of your, not necessarily approaches, but, how do you get into this with somebody to share?
Can I ask real quickly, or David, if you don't mind, just give the medical disclaimer, please?
Oh, well, this is not a medication. It's not a drug. We make no claims. It can't cure, treat, heal, diagnose anything. It's something that's inside of us. Our cells make it, but we made more when we were younger, and they found a way to make it outside the body. So many things that you see deteriorate with age, a 20-year-old will not heal as quickly as a 10-year-old from the same injury, tonsillectomy. I mean, so there's a difference between 20-year-olds and 10-year-olds, because at puberty, we start producing less and less and less and less of this. But you see all what deterioration. I mean, you see people as they get older, they get more diseases, they heal slower. They get, every decade of life, people are more prone to getting that horrible thing that no one wants to hear they have. And they found a way to make it outside the body. And so it doesn't heal or cure you. It just makes your body, we'll talk about it probably, but signaling it, it makes your body do what it did when it was younger. It's the body that's doing it. It's not the product that does it. So that's the disclaimer. But what do I say to people, Lee? Usually at this point, I just grab them by the neck and I choke them. And I say, you got to listen to me. You feel like that sometimes. The longer you're in this and the more you see what it does, and you see the miracles. And my wife doesn't like when I use the word miracle, but I really think it's a scientific miracle. So it's a miracle that this exists. It's a miracle that the founders of the company did not take the buyout offer from the pharmaceutical company, had the integrity to say no, knowing it would have just been buried and no one would have known it was there. So everybody keeps taking their medications for everything under the sun. The way I introduce it to people generally is I don't initially, unless it's someone really close to me. I say, I got something really important. But people who I meet and I don't know very well, I just find out about them. I mean, everybody's got a problem. Everybody's got a problem, physical, mental, sleep, or they love somebody who does. And a lot of people have a problem with finances. I mean, they're struggling or settling through life. So the way I generally introduce to people who I don't know very well is I ask questions. Hey, what do you do for a living? And they'd say it's real estate. And I'll say, God, real estate's a great market. But I've heard because of COVID, there's like not much inventory. No, there's not. And what are you doing? Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's really difficult. So I'm listening for things, how's your family? How many kids you got? Everybody healthy? I'm just listening for a problem so that I can pose this as a possible solution. And if they're interested, they're interested. If they're not, they're not. And if I'm sitting with somebody, honestly, and they're closed-minded about it, I say a little prayer that something in their body hurts them. They've got something hurting them. And because I always have the gel with me, if you're new to this, you don't know, this is marketed for anti-aging, but there's a really cool thing that happens when you put it on people who are hurting, their neck, their back, their knee. It's pretty interesting what happens to almost every single one of them. And I mean, close to every one within 10 minutes of putting this on 3 times in 5 minutes. And very often that's the thing that'll open a closed mind, like, boom. My neighbor here called me. I was on the phone with Scott Aldred, actually, a president, and I'm sorry, Chuck Funky, the CEO. And he called me and I said, what's up? He goes, I haven't been able to play golf because I play golf every day here. Haven't seen him. And he said, my back's been bothering me. I've told him about Asea for over a year. Looked at information, he's 79 years old and he's a good golfer, but he can't play golf. And I said, what, is it hurting right now? Yeah. I said, I'm going to shoot you a video, watch it. And tell me when you've watched it, I'm coming over. So I shot him 3 times in 5minutes.com, my video. And I said, I'm going to bring this over and then you're going to call me back in 10 minutes. And he lives right. I mean, I just walked across the thing here, went over, gave it to him and, texts me, he goes, I think it's better. And I go, I'm not surprised. And then I'm out taking the dog out and he comes out, he's calling me, David. I coming back, what's up? He goes, this stuff works. I'm like, yeah, I know. But you can't, sometimes you just got to be prepared when someone is ready to listen, and a lot of times we don't use the word pain, but when someone is debilitated, someone is hurting, someone is in need, it's nice to be the white knight that pulls up. And I didn't say, I told you so. I just said, hey, now he's more interested in looking at everything and the more important product, which is the drink, because he's had an experience.
That's awesome. It had to have thrilled you when we introduced the gel, all the years that it was just liquid. And then the gel comes and your history, podiatry, now you've got something tangible that works quick. So I like your 3 and 5 video because it's short, but it's a good excuse to send to somebody as usage, but if people listen to it, it also promotes, maybe you should consider it for the business. It's the greatest breakthrough since penicillin. Why not look at it? And then you start plugging in the 6 reasons in 6 minutes. Maybe you can explain where that video came in, and maybe people need to write down that site so they can look up that video. It's pretty.
Thank you. And by the way, the 3 times in 5 minutes video, I shortened it. It was 6 minutes. Now it's 4. So I'm trying to keep them as short as possible because I have a short attention span, and most people do, I think. But until they've seen it work, then they're soaking up everything. Once they've seen the product work, they're watching things for 90 minutes. They don't care. It's like, all right, now you've got my attention. But I put together a website called gettingyoungerclub.com. And doesn't have my contact information. It is strictly just a generic thing where I put some things together, like Alan did on amazingmolecules.com. But some of there are things with me on there, and just people on my team are like, these are short, real short. Take a look at this. Then they go over to Amazing Molecules. But I put the 6 minute, 6 reasons video first, and it's, like I said, when you ask me how do I introduce it to people, I need to find their problem. If I find a problem, a reason why they'd want to look at it, they're more apt to look at it more than me saying, hey, you should look at this. If their back hurts and wow, maybe this can help, I'll look. I want to look younger. I don't like my wrinkles. Maybe I should look at this. I'm an athlete. I want to perform better. Maybe I should look at this. My daughter is sick. My father had an issue. Well, maybe I should look at this. I'm really worried about my financial security. I should look at this. I hate what I do for a living. I should look at this. So those 6 reasons, which is at 6minutes6reasons.com. You could go directly there with the number 6, or go to gettingyoungerclub.com. It's there. Because at gettingyoungerclub.com, I put other videos. So people say, oh, it's just salt water. I made a video. It's like, it was salt water. It's not salt water anymore. But those are the basic reasons why people take the time to look at it. And, there are certain people that look at it because they love you, just out of respect. But most people in this world don't love you, and they're not going to do it out of respect. You have to get them to want to look at it, and the way they do is if they see it as a solution to a problem they have, possibly.
Exactly. That's great. Lee, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say one of the old things, the sayings I came across is, that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But what you're describing is how you salt the oats to make them thirsty.
Yeah, well, lead them to salt water. That's right. You got to make them, that's right, thirsty. And last resort, if they're hurting and they don't believe you, you put this on their neck, 90% chance they're intrigued in 10 minutes. You've got their full attention, which I love. I think this is the most important product for the body, obviously, but this is such a mind opener for people. It's like, how could something with salt and water do that in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Possibly do that.
So it seems like a key too, David, because something we were talking about earlier and something we talked to a lot of folks about is staying consistent with it. This isn't just, well, my hands work better now, I can stop, right? Because you can never stop taking the molecules. Can you kind of go over that real quick? Why? I mean, wait a minute. You mean I got to take this stuff forever?
You don't have to. If you want to live younger longer, you do. If you don't want to live younger longer, don't take it. I mean, the fact is, here's the thing. Our cells make these redox molecules, right? They're making them now. Everybody's making them, but we all made more when we were younger. And when we go through puberty, our mitochondria become less efficient. We start producing less in our 20s, less in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Just look what happens to our grandparents. Look what happens to our parents. Look what happens to us. And it corresponds to us producing less of this, right? So my cells at 15 was making this much, and I healed incredibly fast, no issues. I'd sprain my finger playing basketball and there'd be a sausage. The next day it was back to normal, right? Then in my 20s, I sprained my finger. It swells like up a sausage. It takes a couple of weeks for it to go down. 30s, it takes longer. 40s, I may not be able to shake someone's hand for 6 months because it hurts, right? We don't heal as quickly. And so my cells are producing less. So at 61, my cells are producing this much right now. When I drink this, I raise my levels back up to what they were when they were younger. My cells keep producing the same amount, doesn't stop, because it's produced during the same process that we produce a molecule that we burn for fuel. For the science people, ATP. So my body must keep producing ATP. Just because I'm drinking this and my body stops producing this, I'm producing ATP, so I'm producing this much of this. Well, I'm 61, I feel like I'm in my 20s. If I stop drinking in about 2 weeks, that's where my levels are going to be. I don't want to feel 61. Maybe when I'm 90, I want to feel 61. So you don't have to keep drinking it. If you want the benefits, you drink it. The double-blind study that was done, the placebo-controlled double-blind study, when saline was actually the placebo, showed that it turns the genes back on, increases genetic expression in every single person who drinks it. 8 weeks, 8 ounces a day. And then they said, wow, the saline didn't turn on anybody's genes at all. But then they said, okay, at week 8, all these people, their genes turn on, at least 20 to 31%. All the people that drank Asea. Genes that control very important functions in the body, the innate immune system, which is the part of the immune system that deals with infections. Younger people tend to do better with things, don't they? When they get infections, younger people seem to bounce back better. They're not going to be on ventilators and things. The genes that control the cardiovascular health, the cardiovascular system, hormone modulation, inflammation, digestion, enzymes. So, and then they said, okay, well, if it turned all these genes on, and we're not making claims that helps those things because that would be a medical claim, but we can claim it turns the genes on. So you kind of have to connect the dots is what you got to do, right, Lee? So you connect the dots and say, well, if it turns those genes back on, yeah, you don't see a lot of heart attacks in young people, do you? You don't see a lot of inflammation in younger people. Okay, well, they were producing a lot more of this, right? So week 8, they said, let's see what happens if it's permanent. So they took the people off the product. And then 8 weeks later, at week 16, they tested again and the genes turned back off. So when people say, oh God, do I have to take for the rest of my life? No. If you want the benefit, if you're starving, and you haven't eaten in 2 weeks and you eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and steak or whatever, oh boy, that's better. I have to eat again? It's like, you want the benefit of what the product or the food or the water, whatever it does, you have to keep doing it for your life. If you don't want the benefit, don't do it.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is going to come out correct, but we talked about this today at a meeting that we did up in Kerrville. You're going to be drinking Asea. I'm currently doing more than most because I had a little bit of an issue, starting on Saturday. I had some upper respiratory stuff. You're still going to have issues happen, right, David? Right, Lee? Things are still going to happen. And that's why we're recommending people keep extra on hand so that when something comes up, you can take more to allow your body to deal with what is now happening inside your body. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Take care.
We're still going to die, aren't we?
Yeah, I think so. Well,
okay.
We just want to live younger, longer. That's
right. But it doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect, that you're never going to have any health issues.
Look, here's the thing. I always say this, that someone says, I'm sleeping better, I'm seeing better, I'm breathing better, my libido's better. But you know what? I still have this mole on my arm. I'm like,
right.
You know what? It's called Asea. It's not called Panacea. It doesn't make everything perfect. But I have extra. I just went on a trip out west. I went to corporate. I went to Denver. I went to Seattle. Did some amazing meetings. I spent in Seattle. I was with Filipinos the whole time. We had the most amazing time. I ate crispy pata and all kinds of good stuff.
I saw that plate.
Yeah, but I knew I was going to be traveling on planes, and I'm not scared of COVID. I'm not really scared of anything, really. But I know that you're on a plane. People have the flu. People have this. People have that. They're coughing and hacking. And over the past 2 years, everybody's been sterilizing themselves. So people's immune systems are really going down. So they're exposed to something, they're going to get sick. So I drink 8 ounces a day. But the week before I left, I was drinking the whole 32-ounce bottle every day. Right. We don't say any claims at all. But I personally, I like putting this stuff in a nebulizer. And not saying anything about any lung problems. I just like let's just say I like the way it feels to inhale it through my nose. No medical claims. I think personally, I think it's a very wise thing to do this once you understand what this is, but it's safe enough to put it in my eye. It's just, so I always have extra on hand in case,
Yeah. Something else that you always talk about, and I just really was thinking about this. Another way for people to validate that this is real into the future is keep doing the 3 and 5 to other people. Don't just keep doing it to yourself. Go find other people that have issues. And like David says, always take a tube or a sample tube with you. We got the sample tubes that you can also get. But that's how you can continually validate it to me that it's real. So if I go talk to 10 people and 9 of them go, Jim, what in the world is that? What is that doing for me? That's validating it for me. And those people are going to walk away and go, oh my God, what is that stuff, right?
Can I share something my screen for a second?
Yeah.
I got it. I'm able to. I want to show you something. I have a PowerPoint. And by the way, that's my friend Debbie right there, who brought this to me and Wendy. And I thank God she did, honestly. And Denny, this woman right here, she just had her 10th. Everybody here looks younger than they did 10 years ago. So if anybody's listening to this that thinks the health benefits is a bunch of bunk and they want to look younger, just use the product and take pictures of your skin. But she's at her 10th grandchild. If it wasn't for, I didn't know her, but I don't know that my father would be alive right now if it wasn't for her, because she called her friend Tammy, who called her friend Cindy, who called her friend Debbie, who called me. And if that chain of events didn't happen, Debbie would not have known about it to care enough to call me. But you're talking about validation. I just made this slide for my PowerPoint. I talk about breakthroughs always sound too good to be true to people. I mean, the light bulb sounded too good to be true. The telephone did, the cell phone.
Yeah, I love that.
So I put this together. Why do people want to validate it? How do you validate it? And the time needed to validate, right? So why? I think there are 3 major reasons. Just curiosity. Someone wants to know it's real, to be confident in sharing with others. And people want to know it's real before everyone else knows. I mean, these are the major reasons why people want to know if this stuff is real. And obviously, if it's going to help them with their problem. And the ways to validate, well, there's third-party validation. Then there's first-party validation, right? Third party is look at the studies, look at the science, look at the pictures, all of the before and after pictures. Personal validating is seeing it on yourself and others, like you just said, right? So the time needed to validate, I always tell people, give the drink 90 days. 90% of people at 90 days say, holy cow. I think 15% of people do in the first week, 60% do after a month, and 90% do in 90 days. But the gel, as you said, if they're interested in validating this for the opportunity, especially, I say, look, you got a 30-day money back guarantee. Take the gel, find 5 or 10 people, say 10 people who are hurting. You want to be excited? It takes 10 minutes. That's what it took 10 minutes with my neighbor across the way here. 10 minutes. It's so easy to validate this. And if someone's drinking the drink and they say, I don't see anything, it's been 3 weeks, but they said, if it works, if I see a difference, I'm going to tell people about this. I want to have a better life. I want to make money. I'll say, well, you haven't seen anything in 3 weeks. I told you expectations. I mean, you're only 3 weeks in. Did you take the gel and put it on 10 people like you said you were going to? No,
Right.
No, but I'm putting it on my face. I think my face is looking younger. I'm like, that's great. It does that. You want to validate? You want to be shocked and say, oh my God, I can't believe this. Go put it on 10 people and watch what happens to 9 of them. So I agree with you.
Yeah. And do it with this week or do it in a couple of days. Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. And something else that a lot of people have said, David, is breakthroughs always create opportunity. And as an ex-financial advisor, you're not going to see anything this massive ever again, but where only one company has the technology that's going to do this. Usually it's a ripple effect across other industries, but here it's not. How big is this, David? I mean, how big is this, honestly? And I don't think anybody knows, because it works on everything alive. I mean, it works on plants and animals. Anything that has a cell, it works. It's crazy.
It's such a breakthrough that it sounds too good to be true. And people's two things. It sounds too good to be true, and it's marketed through multi-level marketing. A lot of people don't understand multi-level marketing. People that have done it understand that amazing products get to the public through multi-level marketing. I just as an example, let's say the only thing we had was this. We didn't have the other products. And an entrepreneur said, I'm looking for something that might make people feel good, okay, that might be hurting. And they went out and they put this on 100 people that had their neck, their back, and they heard 90 of them say, wow, how did it do that? 90 out of 100 is a huge number.
Yeah.
And just if that's all that this did, say, that's enormous. That is so enormous. People are conditioned to taking all kinds of pills and toxic anti-inflammatories that used to be pills. Now it's all, I'm just putting it on my skin. They don't understand. You look at the warnings on non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. It tells you don't take it more than 2 weeks. Don't take it more than 2 weeks. I don't care how bad your neck hurts, your knee hurts, because you increase the chance of stroke and heart attack. I think, what is it, Lee? Like 25% by doing that. And then people think if they put it on their skin, oh, that's safe. It gets into your bloodstream. So, how big is this? People that have used the product on 10, 20 people know that what I'm saying is true. This is a massive breakthrough. And we haven't even scratched the scratch on the surface. And anybody that doubts that, they think, you think I'm making that up? Go put the gel on 10 people who are hurting. 10 closed-minded people who say this is ridiculous, I don't believe it. It could be the smartest people who say, I think it's just salt water. As long as they're honest, watch what 9 out of the 10 say. And I say 3 things will happen. It's not salt water, number 1. 2, it's very, very easy for anybody to validate this who wants to validate it, because you just did it. If you did it, anybody can do it. And 3, you realize you know about it before everybody else. No matter how good it sounds to be true, you know about it before everybody else. Sometimes you feel like a salmon swimming upstream. Pioneers always do. When you're the first one cutting through a jungle with a machete and everybody's following you, they're like, hey, they're just walking through with mosquitoes. You're the one with mosquitoes and chopping stuff out of the way. I almost cursed there. You're chopping stuff out of the way. You take the brunt of it, but the rewards are huge. I make an enormous amount of money, so much more than I did owning my own practice, but I have time freedom. I don't have to work anymore. It's like having an oil well in my backyard and wake up in the morning and there's another one and they multiply. So it's worth the salmon swimming upstream. And I like challenges and I think it's fun. And the thing that I know is that everybody that says no, everybody that disses me, one day they're going to eat crow. One by one, they have been over the past 10 years. They come back and now they're my neighbor, right? I mean, it's like I've told him for a year, but I didn't push it, never pushed it, but we are in such a position right now. The biggest network marketing company in the world is Amway, $8.5 billion, I think. We did almost 200 million last year. We're like, little. I'm telling you, you get me a room of 100 entrepreneurs that are hurting, these guys will take off with this thing. So I don't think I don't know. Because we're at this time right now at the convention in April, they're going to release 3 new Redox products and make some huge announcements. Biggest one since I've been in the company, biggest since the gel came out. And so I was kind of kicking back a little bit this year saying, you know what, I don't really want to do a whole lot. I'm just going to chill. I play golf. I still play golf every day, but I told my team on my mastermind call today that I'm going to work really hard through this year, all the way to the end of the year. And I can't say how hard I'm going to work after that. I'll always do this. I dedicated my life to making people aware of it until it becomes mainstream, then they don't need me anymore. But I'm excited about this year. Lots of stuff happening this year.
So David, let's go back and explain the concept of this next level marketing. Why is that? If this is so good, I mean, we're both health professionals. We've been trained, similarly. Why is it doing what it's doing? And why is this the market that it was put out in rather than a more, medical oriented direction?
Well, and Lee, it's funny, you asked the question and I know you know the answer. And I know that Jimmy and Ann know the answer too, but it's nice to hear different perspectives.
It is.
Right. Well, the fact of the matter is, there's a video called The Genesis of Asea, and you can see it at amazingmolecules.com. You can see it at gettingyoungerclub.com. And it doesn't go through the very, very beginning of this technology. It kind of picks up where Vertus Norton and Tyler Norton got a hold of the technology. And everybody should, it's 16 minutes. It explains a lot. It explains why it's marketed this way, why it has to be marketed this way. You also feel the integrity of the people. When people want to bring this to market and to their friends, they need to believe in the product and the company, right? And believing the company is very, very important. That's why I brought some people out to Salt Lake last week to meet them. But Vertus Norton was in charge of international strategy of a $36 billion a year Fortune 50 traditional company. $36 billion a year company. He was in charge of international strategy. And he's the one and his son Tyler who started this company, and they bought the technology from another company that could not perfect it. They had the product, but it wasn't stabilized. So it wasn't called Asea then, but when they made it, it had its properties, but within 5 or 10 minutes, it would turn back into saline, salt and water. They could not find a way to stabilize it. So people saw amazing things happen in the lab, but they couldn't sell it. As soon as they put it in the bottle, it was salt water. So that's when Vertus got it. And the movie explains that. And when they did stabilize it, they were going to sell it. I mean, Vertus is a businessman. He was going to sell it for tens of millions of dollars, and a pharmaceutical company, you'll see in the video, offered him a lot of money. And there was no reason for him not to take it until they said, you need to shut down. We'll take the patents. We'll take the IP, because Vertus is brilliant. He didn't patent everything. There's trade secrets and IP because patents run out. So it's like Coca-Cola. There's no patents on Coca-Cola. No one knows exactly how to make it. It's a trade secret. This is not reverse engineerable. I mean, it's a miracle that they did this. And the science behind this is absurd. But when they said, you need to shut down, and Vertus and Tyler, so what about the people who are on the product? Because they had a lot of people on the product. And the pharmaceutical company said, they'll find something else. Well, you know what? When you're using it because your finger hurts, it's one thing. When you're using it because you had something was god awful and scared to death, it's a different thing. So they had to make an ethical decision, a moral decision, and they decided not to sell it. And they're like, well, how do we bring it to market? The label says it's made from salt and water, because it is made from 4 atoms, sodium, chloride, hydrogen, oxygen. Some people detox on this product. About less than 10% of people, they drink it. They don't feel good at the beginning. They need some education. They need some hand holding. And they were in Salt Lake City, and which happens to be the mecca for network marketing. Neither Tyler nor Vertus knew about network marketing, but someone said, you have a perfect product for this. And watch the video and you'll see, watch the Genesis, you'll see why, because they test marketed on some people, and they told people who told people about it. And that's when they decided to launch it as a network marketing company, very non-traditional. But instead of all the money that goes to advertising and marketing, it goes to us. So when you're a distributor, an associate, you tell people about this, they're all using the product. Every time they get their product delivered by the company, not you, money back guarantee, they get the whole support of the company as a customer or as an associate. You get paid every time they get their product, those 10 people, right? Over and over again. Well, that's residual income. That's more than enough to pay for your own product. That's nice. We all have residual bills, but we don't have residual income. But those 10 people have mouths. And the fact is, over 90% of people would like a better life. They either struggle financially, they settle financially, they struggle or settle with time freedom, they struggle or settle with life satisfaction. So if those 10 people did what you did, they told 10 each, that's 100 more people. You're getting paid on that. And that's 1,000 people. You're paid on that. It doesn't work exactly like that, but the concept is brilliant. He decided, instead of paying advertisers, and pharmaceutical companies, good Lord, they spent a lot of money on television. They spent a lot of money on drug reps. They spent a lot of money on, and cost $1 billion to put a drug through trials all the way, cost $1 billion to bring it to market with their advertising. All that money just goes to us. That's why it's marketed this way.
There's some products that are being marketed right now on every major news channel there is out there. They're doing with fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
But I keep asking, but who's making all the money? You've got these people coming on going, oh, it's a great product, great product. Well, here we get paid.
That's right.
For sharing what we have. If you go share something that you get at the grocery store makes a profit, you don't. And it's just, I just can't understand why people have an issue with networking. But when we start talking about a category creating breakthrough, that's why we do this show, David. That's why we're so thankful that doctors like you and others come on. And I do believe that the corporate validation is mandatory, because if you don't have the right corporate soul behind the company, you cannot trust that that company is going to change things. But here we know it's going to be a multi-generational company. But the fact that we have a category creator, it doesn't fit into any other category. Lee, how do you explain that to people? How do you go, from dietary supplement made from salt water, and there's nothing like it on the planet? How do you wrap your brain around that?
Well, the way I wrap my brain around it is of course, I come at it from kind of a science point of view. This is about what's called the Redox Ohm. We all know about the genome and DNA and, even the metabolome. Those are things that happen when you have your blood work taken and you're looking at metabolites and your laboratory values. The Redox Ohm is the new science, foundational science that undergirds all of that. That is about how redox sensitive molecules detect problems in the cell and respond to it in a way that restores cellular health. That's the science behind this. That's why this is a category creator. This isn't about nutrition. There's 101 or 1,001 other solutions out there, including eating right from your grocery store. I mean, technically that is a redox principle. But there's all this competition for that space of nutrition. Well, this isn't nutrition. You still need to eat right. That's why Asea even has a line of supplements that are formulated to work synergistically with this. This is doing what nothing else can do, and that is to operate at the redox level, which is the movement of electrons that activate pathway genes that Dr. David was talking about earlier, that awaken what I call the inner doctor. It's waking up your own immune system so that it's not this that's making me healthy, it's me that's making me healthy. That's a redox principle. And that's why this is a category creator, because there isn't anything else out there that does it like we do it.
Exactly.
So why are you doing this, Lee?
Well, I have two reasons. One, my wife's physician, who at the time didn't really know much about this, he'd just heard about it, but he was kind of scratching his head trying to find some solutions for some really some health conditions in her life that had really heavy gravity for her. And he said, I think you should try this. And I said, well, what is it? And he said, just go get some. So I didn't have any explanation. I just went and got some because I trusted him. And I found out later he didn't know a whole lot at the time anyway, but it worked. I mean, it was, for her, it was like flipping a switch within about 8 hours. And this wasn't the gel, it was the liquid. And so that's what caught my attention. And then I began to do my own digging. My brain had to really wrap around it from a science point of view, because I did need to know, for me, why what I observed happened. And so I spent some time, digging into the science to validate it and to find out that this really was real. I didn't really have anybody there to explain it to me. So I kind of discovered it on my own. And then I discovered, as Dr. David pointed out, that this was a unique marketing thing. And I started to understand what leverage was about, and that, that we're all vulnerable to the realities of economic life, and we all can benefit by having secondary or multiple sources of income going on. And so that has become, aside from the medical side, which I know very well, that's become a driving force in my mind and in my heart to create an income stream that will help support me through all of this. And that happens because I help other people discover what I've discovered health-wise.
David, you shared one of the last times. A lot of people out there have tried this kind of marketing and they haven't had a good experience, whether it's because of their own effort or the effort of the company where the ownership failed. What was it that got you back into the game? And I think it has something to do with our founder. Can you share some of your earlier thoughts about, because a lot of people from now on may not have the advantage like you and I did and Ann of meeting Vertus Norton. What made him so unique? But again, why did you get back into the game? Why did you check back in?
Well, I'm about to put a YouTube link in the chat, and people should copy this because it is Tyler. And this is somebody who was the chairman of the board, and I was just with him last Wednesday, actually. I was very honestly, the last network marketing thing that I did caused a lot of problems in my life, a lot, marital, financial, a lot of stress that if I had stayed a doctor, I wouldn't have had, honestly. But it was all because of what I saw as lack of ethics and integrity in the people that were running the show. And, when I owned my own practice, I ran the show. So the ethics, that all started with me, right? And I'm a good person, and I know I'm a good person. I treat people right, and I would never lie or steal or anything. But when you join a network marketing company, you're not in charge. So I was very gun shy about this, but Debbie kept telling me how different this was. And she'd have tears in her eyes talking about Tyler and Vertus. So I said, about 10 months in, I got on a plane. I went out to Utah to meet them, and we sat around a table, Vertus, Tyler, and I think Jerem was there. I'm not sure if Chuck was there, CEO, but there was a point where we all had tears in our eyes, all of us. And I'm looking at Vertus, and the guy ran international strategy for a $36 billion company. And I'm not going to go through the reasons we were all crying, but I was like, you got me. I'm doing this. You got me. And I had to break it to my wife, after all we had been through in the other company. And I said, now I'll share this with you. I don't know if I did last time. So I knew that the only way that I was going to get my wife behind me, and I had gotten a job. I had gotten a job as a business consultant with a healthcare company, and I hated it, but I needed to pay the bills. We all got to do what we got to do. And I already sold my practice. I didn't want to go back into practice. I felt it would be a step backwards to start all over again. And when I got to work and I started part-time, and I said, I was hungry. When you're hungry, you'll do the work. You don't care when people say no. It's like, hey, you're going to find out about it anyway. Next, you're going to find out about it anyway. Next. And I just went to work, and I said to my wife, how much do I need to be making? I knew I had to make money quickly, right? How much do I need to be making a month for you to say, David, quit your job? And she gave me a number, it's a steady number after 6 months. Okay. But in that time, and when I hit it in 3 years, I quit. And that was it. And then I said, well, how much do I need to make for you to quit your job? Because she was managing a law practice. She gave me a number, and I hit that too. I was like, I'm getting you out of your job. But before that, what got my wife on my side, she saw the income coming. We weren't to where I could quit my job. This is not get rich quick, but I qualified for a trip to Costa Rica. And we went and we checked in. They've usually those places in those big open reception desks, huge, and you kind of walk through. There's no walls, you just walk through. And I saw out on the like a platform or whatever, it overlooked the pool, and it was a railing. I saw Vertus out there, and I said, "Come here, I want to introduce you to Vertus." So I left the desk. They said, "We'll call you when your room's ready." So I walk around, I introduce her to Wendy, to Vertus, and she's like, "Nice to meet you," because we had been burned so badly. You got to understand, it was like psychological damage, what happened before. So, and no matter what I had said about Vertus and Tyler, it was like, she was there to just lay in the sun and relax, and shakes his hand. And I hear him say, David Silverman. So I said, I'll be right back. I run back, I check in, I come back, and Wendy and Vertus are hugging. And Vertus is a big guy. I mean, Wendy's tiny, and they're just hugging. And I walked up and they both had tears in their eyes. I got tears in my eyes now. And we said, see you later, Vertus. And he walked away. And I said, Wendy, what happened? And she just looked me in the eyes with tears in her eyes. And she said, you do this. You do this. And this is like 6-7 months in. And she never really told me what the conversation was, but I didn't have to know what it was, because I probably had the same conversation with him, 6 months earlier when I had started. But it's the people. And
what was that conversation? I want you to speak to the people right now, David, that are listening to this live or recorded. They've been hurt like you were. Lee, same thing. But what would you tell them? Why give this a shot? Yeah, look. Why do this?
Well, here's the thing. For multi-level marketing, my friend, he's a platinum in my business from the Philippines, Gene Manaus. He's been in network marketing for 24 years. And he and I was in Manila in November of 2019 before COVID. And he came to a meeting and he looked in my eyes. We were in my hotel room in my suite, walked out of the room, the suite, walked into my bedroom, and he had tears in his eyes. I mean, he was scared to death. He's like, David, I can't risk this not working. Tell me this is real. And I looked him in the eyes and I said, Gene, I'm where you were. You are where I was. This is it. You got to trust me. And until you meet Vertus and Tyler and you meet the people running it, you got to trust me. In February, right before the shutdown, February 20, before the world shut down, he came over to a fly-in and came to corporate, and that locked him in. It's when you meet the people, and he always says MLM for many people means making lives miserable,
yeah,
which I relate to. And he said, not for me, it's making lives meaningful, making lots of memories. And I'll just tell you this. It's easy to promote the product. You see the product work. It's like you tell people about it. That's what I was doing with Debbie. I was referring people. But to promote the opportunity, you got to believe in that too. You can't just believe in the product. And I think the only way to have true belief is to meet the people. And for the past 2 years, we've had to do it on Zoom. The convention is coming up in April in Las Vegas. And I'm telling you, you can go up and just say hello to Tyler. I don't know if Vertus will be there, but say hello to Tyler, say hello to Chuck. They're approachable. My other company, you couldn't get near those people. And I was at the top and they were just off, it was like this. And I think they wanted to keep separate because they knew they weren't doing good things and people could smell it if they got too close to them. These people, I would entrust my children's lives to any of the people at corporate, any of them.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's an amazing culture, isn't it? And again, it's an emotional thing, and you're trying to sell something that is, factual and objective, but it has this emotional side to it that will lock you in. And I think it goes back to the idea of like, well, somebody that does this for a month and then decides to stop, maybe because they are feeling better and they have this drug mentality of I don't need to take the medicine anymore, right? So, but it's like it's these other things, the culture and the emotion and the financial strength of it that keeps you in the deal.
Pretty much anybody, by the way, pretty much anybody that stopped the product that I got on the product gets back on it. Because they're, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, a year, they're like, I felt better on that stuff. And the clock keeps ticking. We keep getting older. We're going downhill, downhill, downhill. If you can biohack this and bring it back up. But but to be able to promote the business with your heart and confidence, you have to believe in the opportunity. You have to believe in the people. And it's really hard to do that, right? To get that feeling by sitting in your house. That's why it's been such a shame for 2 years, even though the company's grown each of the years that we've been shut down with COVID. It's a shame we can't get together physically. I know there's one coming up in Dallas in a couple of weeks. There's a big one coming up in Orlando in March. The convention in April. And I know people are a little scared still of Omicron and all this stuff, whatever. But we got to wake up from this stuff. And as soon as you can get to one of these things where these people are, I recommend doing it, because until someone's met them, there's always a blind spot. They don't feel it in their heart the way that I do and the way that you do and the way Wendy does. That's the best advice I can give you, is get to an event, and the convention is the best thing.
David, where we were financially, in the beginning, and then 5 years into this, or just recently, I mean, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
People don't realize that what the Norton family did by giving the business back to us. They could have done this in a way that they could have kept all the money. And I remember talking to John and Vertus Norton about that. They could have, or Tyler, they could have done it in a way that they could have kept all of it, but they didn't do that. That they gave you a chance. How thankful are you to Debbie Wetzler? And it almost makes you want to cry, because where would you be right now if it wasn't for Debbie Wetzler that stepped into your life?
That's what I mean. I don't know where I would be. I don't and like
it's very emotional to ponder that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if my dad would be here. You know, that was 11 years ago. When you said they decided to give the money to us, they could have kept it themselves. That's not really true. Oh, you mean by just by selling it, you mean? By selling it to the pharmaceutical company?
Correct.
Yeah.
They didn't go this route.
Well, they could have also done it in a way. They could have done a different distribution model, not networking. They could have done just straight distribution, not network.
But then the money would have gone to middlemen and advertisers.
Correct.
And stuff for us.
Correct. Into the Norton family, not to us.
Right.
The people that don't give a rip.
If I were to weigh the opportunity versus the breakthrough, the breakthrough is so much more important to mankind than the opportunity. I mean, everybody benefits from this, and it's so important. It's so much bigger than anybody can imagine. But for people who need an opportunity or want a better life, and what are their options? Buy a lottery ticket, drive Uber. You know, residual income is a beautiful thing. I could never, ever go back to anything. When you start building this and the money shows up in your bank account every week, and it started out $100 a week. It's like, it's not going to change my life, but it builds, because you tell people. Does everybody want to make the amount of money I make? Probably. Will everybody? No, because they're not willing to do the work. They're either not motivated enough or they're not coachable enough. You give me a motivated person, I'm telling you, motivated and coachable as well, not just motivated, but coachable. They can make as much money as they want to make in this, but most people are not. Most people will give up. Not most people, a lot of people give up. They're like, this is too hard. You know, they said no, 10 people said no. If 10 people in a row say no, then you're not coachable, because you're doing something wrong. Because 10 people aren't going to say no. It means you are not coachable.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is a perfect time, I think, to have people in a home business. I mean, everyone's looking, and we have the perfect marriage between,
we have the perfect marriage.
Well,
I know you do.
I'm talking
about, here we have a great technology, and we have a great business model, and we have the culture. I mean, we have the best of everything. And we tell people, if you can make, and we saw this in the beginning, we were part-time then, and we were corporate America itching to get out. If you can make 500 a month, then you can make 1,000 a month. And if you can make 1,000 a month, then there's potential to make 10,000. So, we just try to paint the picture of what would life be like if you had an extra 500 a month. I mean, for many people, that's, a car payment or maybe a couple bills a month, and minimum pays for their products. So, it's a win-win when you can get them making a little bit of something every single month. They'll stay on the product.
But David, I do think the financial opportunity is gigantic. There's a lot of people that have been forced out of a job. They've been forced to do something different. And Lee, you guys know the effects of stress. I'm an ex-financial advisor. The majority of people do not have near enough money set aside to live the way they want to live. They don't. It's reality. And so what that stress does to not even to older people, but to younger people, what causes the majority of issues within a marriage? And it's financial. And so when you throw this in and doing it on a part-time basis and being able to create the financial freedom that you can create if you're hungry, coachable, willing to work, like what you were talking about, we can change the world. Well, guys, we've come to the top of the hour. This is, to me, the fastest hour in Asea. David Silverman, you're a blessing.
Yeah.
Are you going to come to Terry's meeting next Friday?
That one. I'm going to be at the one in Orlando. People asked, I saw in the chat. It looks like it's going to be March 19th is when that's going to be. I think the one in Frisco is what, the 26th coming up?
Weekend.
Yeah. And we will be live from there next Friday
Yeah.
doing a testimonial evening, and Lee will be with us from his home. But Maureen and I and Ann will be there,
Yeah.
and we'll be pulling people in
Excited.
off the sidewalks to share their Redox story. So guys, thank you for joining us. We're
Appreciate
here to, this is our payback. This is our paying it forward. We must educate people on what this technology is. We want people to get on it and stay on it. If you don't stay on it, it doesn't do any good. And if we don't educate people, and that's why David and all the other people that we have come join us on this. But I am going to ask what David had said is go to amazingmolecules.com or go to gettingyoungerclub.com and watch the Genesis video. I dare you. Watch our fan. If that video doesn't touch you, then, well, I'm sorry. But it touched me, David, and that's what actually got me into the business. I had to know, why did this guy turn down a multi-million-dollar offer? Why would he do that? And that story changed my life. So I dare you, get back to the person that brought you onto the call and say thank you. But remember, you pull one person out, David, and you got nothing. You wouldn't have heard about this. Don't waste this opportunity.
Don't break the chain.
Don't break the chain. You've been made aware. You can either go, it's real or it's not. We're all either making this up or this is the biggest thing to ever hit the planet. Make up your mind. But you can't just go out there and say, oh, that sounds stupid. So what? That's not a reason not to look at it. So guys, thank you. We will be here next Friday, 8 o'clock. David Silverman, please give Wendy a hug. And Lee, love you guys. And say a prayer for Maureen that she makes it through the evening. Yes, and get the book.
She'll be fine.
I know she will be. She's the life of the party.
She's good.
All right, guys.